Welcome back to Up Front and our discussion with Democratic U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin. Let's talk for a moment, Senator, about the Bo Bergdahl situation, the Army sergeant who was swapped for 5 detainees at Guantanamo, Taliban sympathizers. There are people in Congress who feel that the president broke the law by not informing them in advance of this prisoner exchange. Do you feel he broke the law?
You know, I'm critical of the administration for its lack of transparency and very poor communication with regard to this. Certainly there was not a 30-day warning given. I have not seen the signing statement that people have been talking about, whereby it's reported that he indicated that if a life were in danger, that could be avoided. But again, I'm not satisfied with the transparency on this, with the communication. I have to say, really taken by how politicized the idea of an American soldier who's been a 5-year POW. And we do not leave soldiers behind. We do not leave soldiers behind ever. And I find it interesting just how politicized this has become.
You're troubled by that part of it. Are you troubled by the fact that there are those who suggest these 5 members of the Taliban could be back on the battlefield wanting to kill Americans again?
You know, I have seen and been briefed about the conditions under which they will remain for the next year, under very tight supervision, as I understand it. And of course I worry about anybody with allegiance to the Taliban and what they might do. I think that the explanations that I've heard from generals who are following this very closely is that, of course, if they return to the battlefield, they risk loss of life, too. But the Secretary of Defense testified this past week before Congress and reminded Congress that we are at war still. We still are engaged in combat in Afghanistan, and these are the realities of war. But I think, obviously, this issue is going to be discussed for some time to come.
As we sit here today, the situation in Iraq is very fluid. And I want to ask you a quick question. What long-term concerns do you have about what's happening in Iraq, where it seems like we're very much on the verge of a civil war in that country?
Well, I would expand your question to the entire region. We see such violence that falls along sort of religious factional lines that are incredibly destabilizing. And yet, you know, the question of what U.S. action should be involved is one that I think has created a lot of controversy. We are a war-weary nation. We are concluding the longest war that the United States has ever been involved in Afghanistan. I don't believe that there's any appetite for more boots on the ground. But can we play a positive influence to push and promote democracy, the rule of law, and the disarmament of insurgent groups? Now, we must try.
Senator Tammy Baldwin, the Democrat from Madison, we appreciate you being on the program again today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Coming up next, an opponent of same-sex marriage, why Wisconsin Family Action's Jelaine Appling is urging Republican lawmakers to take a strong stand on this issue. Is she pleased with their response so far?